Dear Taurus, what if the confusion in your inbox today is not really about the message at all? Something in a text, a scheduling note, or a family exchange may feel more loaded than it should. You reread it once, then again, searching for a tone that may not even be there. Taurus, today's chart suggests this reaction has a real astrological source, not just an overactive imagination. And the strange part is, the very same sky that clouds your inbox may also be quietly reshaping something much bigger in your financial world. Stay with this, because the two are more connected than they first appear. The bigger picture. At the center of today sits a tense square between Mars and Cancer and Neptune, and this single aspect touches almost everything else you will feel today. Mars has moved into your third house, the house of communication, siblings, and daily logistics, pushing you to speak up, clarify, and get things moving. Neptune, meanwhile, sits in your 12th house, the quiet zone of private worries and half-formed fears. When these two square off, words lose their edges. A neutral message can suddenly feel like an accusation. A delayed reply can turn into a small story you tell yourself, usually not a kind one. From a psychological lens, this is less about what someone actually said and more about what your own hidden anxieties add to it. The 12th house does not invent problems. It amplifies whatever's already sitting beneath the surface. So if you are feeling unusually sensitive to tone today, that sensitivity likely started before the message ever arrived. There is a second layer running underneath this, though, and it has been building for a while. Some astrologers reading your chart through an evolutionary lens point to larger outside forces, shifts in real estate, finances, or living situations that are being pushed onto you by circumstances beyond your control. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the wider world is moving and your resources are moving with it. Resistance here tends to make things feel more erratic, not less. What is unfolding may not make full sense for weeks, maybe longer, but there is a logic to it that reveals itself later, usually when you are not looking for it. Here is where it gets interesting. Later in the day, Mercury forms a trine with Saturn, and this is the release valve for all that Mars-Neptune tension. Saturn's steady hand helps you separate what is actually true from what is just fear wearing a disguise. If the morning feels foggy, the afternoon offers you the tools to see clearly again. Love. This is where the Mars-Neptune square gets personal, and where the question that opened today's story actually gets answered. If you are in a relationship, a small communication gap, maybe a shorter than usual reply, or a plan that got miscommunicated, could stir up more worry than the situation deserves. You might notice yourself preparing a response to something your partner never actually said. That is the 12th house talking, not the relationship. The instinct many Taurus natives will feel today is to rescue the situation immediately, maybe even over-explain or over-apologize just to smooth things over. One reading of today's Mars-Neptune tension frames this directly as a head versus heart dilemma. Your rational side knows the smart move is to wait and clarify. Your heart wants to fix things right now, even if that means offering a solution nobody asked for. If your instinct to help meets resistance, that is your cue to step back rather than push further into a situation that is not yours to solve. For single Taurus, this same energy shows up differently. Confidence tends to be genuinely magnetic today, and that is not wishful thinking. It is a documented pattern in how Venus-ruled signs carry themselves when Mars is active. Someone may be drawn to you simply because you seem grounded while everyone else is scrambling. The unanswered question here, whether that connection has real staying power or is just today's spark, likely will not resolve itself until you get a clearer signal, and clearer signals tend to arrive once the Mercury-Saturn ease sets in later. The real shift happens once you stop treating punctuation or silence as evidence. A short reply is just a short reply until your 12th house decides otherwise. Ask directly. Ask what they meant when they are free or what they intended. Clarity today is not just good practice. It is the antidote to the exact aspect that is unsettling you, career. That same instinct to rescue and over-explain does not stay contained to relationships. It tends to follow you into work too. Colleague or sibling-like coworker relationship might bring a scheduling mix-up or a miscommunicated task today, and your first impulse may be to jump in and fix it yourself. That impulse is worth questioning before you act on it. Work overall may feel unusually repetitive right now, almost like you are circling the same task without forward motion. That flat feeling is not necessarily a sign something's wrong. It may simply be pointing you toward a bigger question. What do you actually want from this role next? Taurus tends to build momentum slowly, and a plateau period like this often precedes a decision point rather than a dead end. If a work conversation feels tense today, the third house communication energy asks you to slow your pace before responding. Repeat back what you have heard. Confirm details rather than assuming them. This single habit protects your time and your reputation far more effectively than reacting quickly ever could. Money. Here is where two very different astrological voices are describing the same event from opposite ends of the timeline. One tradition, looking at your chart right now, sees a much larger financial or real estate shift underway, driven by forces outside your control, shifts in the market, in housing, in broader social change that are being forced onto your resources whether you are ready or not. That is the long view, and it is uncomfortable precisely because it is still unfolding. But a more traditional, event-focused reading of today specifically suggests your financial decisions are likely to land in your favor right now. Both things can be true at once. The bigger structural shift is a slow tide you cannot control, but the daily decisions you make within it are still yours, and today's chart favors making them with a level head rather than an anxious one. That is the real shift. If a financial choice comes up today, weigh it on its own terms, rather than through the lens of the larger uncertainty. Independence, as one perspective on this transit puts it, has no price tag. You cannot buy your way out of change, but you can navigate it with clearer judgment than the moment initially offers you. Health. Physically, today rewards movement over stillness, and this connects directly back to the mental fog the Mars-Neptune square can create. When your third house gets activated, but your 12th house is pulling you into worry, sitting still with your thoughts tends to make things worse, not better. Motion clears it. If you have been feeling restless or mentally scattered, that is your cue. A long walk, a trek you have been postponing, even a straightforward outing with a friend can reset your nervous system faster than trying to think your way out of the fog. One Vedic reading of today's energy specifically points to the window between 10 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. as especially favorable for this kind of activity, when your mind and body are most in sync. On the subject of remedies, some Vedic practitioners may recommend Saturn-related remedies, such as specific gemstones or mantras, for individuals whose birth charts show particular Saturn placements or challenges. This is not universal advice. Gemstone prescription in Vedic astrology depends on a full analysis of your personal birth chart, including planetary dignity and timing, so it should never be applied broadly to an entire sign. If you're curious about this path, a personal consultation is the only responsible way forward. Rest matters just as much as movement today. Whatever mental energy you spend untangling communication or financial questions, make sure you are paying it back tonight with real, uninterrupted sleep. Home and family. Family and home life carry a gentler version of today's central theme. A sibling exchange, a neighborhood issue, or even a small scheduling detail at home could feel more tangled than it needs to be, simply because the same communication versus worry pattern from earlier in the day shows up here too. The fix is identical. Ask for specifics, repeat the agreement back, and do not fill silence with assumptions. Once that clears, though, today genuinely favors closeness. Spending real, undistracted time with family or planning something intentional with a partner tends to land well under this sky. If you have been feeling emotionally distant from someone at home, this is a good day to close that gap directly rather than letting it drift. Travel and spirit. There is a quieter invitation running underneath today's noise, and it has less to do with going anywhere specific and more to do with stepping outside your routine long enough to think clearly. Trek, a road trip, or even a simple walk in a nearby park can double as both physical relief and mental clarity today, especially if your mind has been circling the same worry all morning. If longer-term travel is on your mind, Amsterdam surfaces as a destination worth considering, not because of any dramatic cosmic pull, but simply as a place that may suit where your interests are heading next. Spiritually, today rewards presence over analysis. The 12th house wants you to sit with discomfort just long enough to notice it is not a message from someone else, it is a message from yourself. Lucky signs. Green stands out as your supportive color today, tied to the grounding, growth-oriented energy Taurus naturally carries. If you are planning any outdoor activity or errand that benefits from good timing, the late morning window between 10 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. is worth working around. Compatible energy today tends to favor people who communicate directly and do not require you to guess at their meaning. A small but useful filter for who to lean on if today feels heavier than expected. Tay's guidance. So if a message, a delay, or a passing comment tugged at you earlier today, you now have a real reason why and a real way through it. Ask before you assume. Move your body before you spiral in your thoughts. Make financial decisions based on what is actually in front of you, not the larger uncertainty still working itself out in the background. The confusion that opened today is not a warning. It is simply the sky asking you to slow down before you respond. Give it that, and the rest of the day tends to unfold with far more ease than at first suggested.